Dear professors and members of the jury, we are the young leaders for the future, and today we would like to talk about Sustainable Development Goals 1 and 10, with our main focus being fighting poverty and the effects of global inequality. My name is Andrea Torresilla, and my team members are Andrés Chamorro and Chimpan Su. Hope you enjoy. We divided the presentation into 4 sections. The first section is Introduction to the topic. Section 2 is No Poverty. Section 3 is Reduce Inequalities. And finally, Section 4 are the steps to take actions. Always talk about Sustainable Development Goals, but for some people this term might be new. So what exactly is an SDG? According to the United Nations, SDG refers to the development that meets the needs of the present, without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In simple words, it's a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. To begin, I'd like to explain more about the goal number 1, which is no poverty. And the main target of it is to end poverty in all forms everywhere. But what are the reasons for global poverty? Unemployment, social exclusion, diseases, disasters, and other factors contribute to poverty and prevent vulnerable people from being productive. Also, as of 2015, 10% of the world population live in extreme poverty with less than $1.90 a day, struggling to fulfill the most basic needs. Also, 1 of 5 children live in extreme poverty, and the negative effects of poverty in the early years have ramifications that can last a lifetime. Now, I'm going to pass the presentation to my teammate Andrés.
Thank you, Andrea. Sometimes we ask ourselves, why should we care about other people's economic situation? There are many reasons I can mention, but the main reason is that because we're human beings, our well-being is linked to each other. This will also the fact that developing countries will face a devastating social and economic crisis. Next, I will present Latin America and some of the reasons as to why we have these issues in relation to poverty. 1 in every 5 Latin Americans lives in poverty. Latin Americans account for 130 million of the nearly 500 million who live in chronic poverty worldwide. Lack of education being one of the main reasons as to why prospects of rising out of poverty are low. I will now mention Paraguay and Nicaragua. I myself being from Nicaragua and my other teammate, Andrea, from Paraguay. The unfair distribution of Paraguayan agriculture and its commerce is the main reason for poverty in the country, where there is a great deal of inequality in terms of distribution and giving back to small-scale family farmers. This accounts for the main reason of poverty in Paraguay, where 10% of the population receives 46.6% of all income. In the case of Nicaragua, it is one of the poorest nations in the continental Americas, where a third of Nicaraguans live in poverty. This is due to consistent political instability and conflict, high inequality between urban and rural populations, dependency on agricultural experts, and natural disasters. Next, I will present some of the solutions Latin America has come up to deal with these problems. Techo is a non-profit organization that mobilizes youth volunteers to fight extreme poverty in Latin America. Paraguay and Nicaragua have worked side by side with Techo along with other international groups that focus on these same issues. One of our programs is based on the construction of housing for families that are in need for assistance. For the case of Nicaragua, as I previously mentioned, natural disasters is one of the main reasons for poverty. This can affect housing at a great measure. Implementing social inclusion programs is also part of the organization, where we have workshops that focus on financial issues, sex education, or just topics on how to improve your situation on a social manner. Andrea and I were actually part of this organization, and we were able to learn a lot in regards to how these communities work and how can we as individuals help them.
Hi everyone. Now I would like to address the SDG 10, which is reduce inequalities, and its priority is to reduce inequality within and among countries. But why does it matter? Because unless people have the chance for a better life, we cannot achieve sustainable development and make the planet a better place for all. Over 70% of the global population lives in inequalities, exacerbating divisions and hindering economic and social development. That's why fighting inequalities is so important. Moving on, I would like to address the inequality issue in Taiwan. Although, according to the statistics, Taiwan is one of the few countries in the world that retains a low poverty rate. Only 1.78% of the population are considered poor. But do we make enough effort on reducing inequalities? I believe we still have room for improvement because there are two groups of people in Taiwan suffer from the systematically inequality the most, which are the Southeast Asian immigrant family and the indigenous people, because they both have long been the victim of racism, which can make it difficult to find well-paid jobs. This led to an approximately 60% of poverty rate for indigenous people in Taiwan. So this is the inequality issue that must be dealt with in order to lay a good foundation for a brighter future of our nation. So, lastly, you might wonder what are the efforts we can do to help tackle the global poverty and inequality issues? Well, let me introduce the United Nations Lazy Person's Guide to Saving the World. By practicing these simple missions from level 1 to 4, you can make a huge difference, because the change starts with you. Every human being on earth, even the most indifferent, laziest person among us, is part of the solution. So, what can you do from your couch? Well, you can stay informed by following your local news and stay in touch with the global goals online or on social media. Next, what are the things you can do at home? You can make the donations to the NGOs working actively to achieve sustainable development goals and promote human rights. Next, what can you do outside your house? Well, you can donate what you don't use to the local charities, and you can also do voluntary work in your community to help the cause of ending poverty and inequalities. Lastly, what can you do at work? Well, you can raise your voice against any type of discrimination in your office. Everyone is equal regardless of their gender, race, social background, and physical abilities. Next, moreover, you can also encourage your company to work with civil society and find ways to help local communities to achieve the SDG goals. So, by doing the little things in your daily routines, you can certainly change the world and create a brighter future for all. And this is the reference lists of our presentation, and it's the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.